Liverpool 3, Brentford 0 as goals from Fabinho, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Takumi Minamino helped Liverpool get back to winning ways in the Premier League after a rather disappointing week. The Reds are back to winning ways. Theo, how are you doing and what did you think of that one?
It's a lot better than the last couple of ones we've done for this, isn't it?
Yeah,
It wasn't
more
the
to
most...
talk about.
Yeah, more to talk about, more positive one to talk about as well. It wasn't a vintage Liverpool performance. I think there was a few scares in it. They took a while to take control of the game, but it settled the nerves when they got the first goal. It settled even more nerves when they got the second goal. And it was what they needed after a week like this to actually have a threatening performance. Like Brentford, while they're a newly promoted side, it could have gone one or two ways. It could have been a comfortable win for Liverpool, which it turned out to be, or it could have been a difficult afternoon. Like they could have been very much up for it, a big away day for them coming to Anfield. And they did cause problems, but I think Liverpool showed some maturity that we've perhaps not seen from them in the last couple of games, maybe, or the last month or so, and sometimes. When you look at what's gone down, it's a positive performance. They've got another clean sheet. They've got goals for the forwards who needed goals, even more so after midweek, even more so when you've got Salah and Mane away at the African Cup of Nations. And then to cap it all off, you can bring a youngster on from his Premier League debut. There's a lot of positives there, especially after Man City beating Chelsea yesterday. You can pretty much say the Premier League's going to be theirs this year, but you still need to keep the gap within touch and distance in case they slip up so you can take advantage. The victory puts Liverpool second. Positives there. Like I said, it wasn't a vintage performance, but it was job done.
Well, after the 0-0 draw with Arsenal, there's a lot of talk about a sort of attacking crisis, so we didn't really pose any threats with one shot on target. Brentford conceding 4 in the week obviously meant they're going to probably shore up their defence and be a bit tighter coming into this game. We knew that. But for the first half an hour or so, Theo, it looked to me like it was going to be another one of those games where we weren't going to force our way through. But thank God when we went through that Fabinho goal, it was more a feeling of relief than joy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a strange one because I think Liverpool, without really threatening Alvaro in that first half, they were more threatening than they were against Arsenal. Like the front three linked up a lot more, and there was this build-up play. And it was like, well, the longer it was 0-0, maybe there was a fear that it could have gone the same way. But Brentford with a five-man defence, they're not as good as Arsenal, are they, at seeing games out? That's why they're a newly promoted side, whereas Arsenal are one of these long-standing Premier League teams. They might be in transition, but they're still one of the more intimidating opponents you're going to face. Brentford gave it a good go, but Liverpool were just a bit more with it today. It helped having Jota on the left rather than the right-hand side. It helped having Oxlade-Chamberlain bursting forward, Alexander-Arnold coming from right back, Robertson being equally threatening from left back. Curtis Jones, we know what he can offer. He was challenged before the game by Jurgen Klopp to live up to his potential a bit more, and he offers something a bit different in that midfield that you wouldn't get when it's a Milner, Henderson, Fabinho trio. So there was more about Liverpool. They had more belief in their abilities that they could unlock a defence and find that goal. The opener, maybe it was a bit fortuitous, like it's dodgy defending from Brentford. I think the centre-back's looking at Fabinho more than he is the ball, and he just gets lost completely. So Fabinho can bend down and he's gifted with a simple header. But Liverpool had been knocking on the door. It did feel like a goal was coming. The concern would have just been if they'd gone, say, another 15, 20 minutes without, and then the crowd get on their back and there's that anxiety there. It came at a good time for him just before half-time. And hopefully it can give them a bit of confidence now going to that second leg in midweek. But yeah, it's just another case of saying who thought Fabinho would be the main goal scoring threat in the absence of Salah and Mane. That's 3 in a week for him, put him up front.
Absolutely, options are running dry. Why not stick him out there? Brentford are starting to slowly leak goals through like a concentration maybe, and they're leaking points as well. I think they'll have one eye on the relegation zone now maybe. But we're going to move on to the second goal. It was quite tense up to that point, Theo, wasn't it? Whether we were inevitably going to get the second. But Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who I thought had a very good game today. What did you think of his performance, especially out wide?
It was better than what we saw in that position from Jota in midweek. Like, it wasn't him at his very best. I don't think he's been at his very best for a number of years at Liverpool because he's had injuries at the wrong time, or he's been out of the team at times where it's not good for him, so he hasn't been able to get rhythm. But he was threatening, and he looked more comfortable there. He could be a threat. He was getting forward. He was linking up well. And it was a great finish for him to read that, because it was a brilliant cross from Robertson, but to read it as well as he did and get the diving header, put it in the bottom corner. You could see how much it meant to him.
It took a slight deflection as well, so it's an even better header. He sort of angles his head on the replay.
Even better then. You got the view there, the Sky cameras help, or whatever you were watching it on, helping you out there. But yeah, it was a reward for him. I think he deserved to start. He came on against Arsenal and he did well in midweek. And it's one where his Liverpool career, he's been so unlucky. You want him to get that form back that he showed when he first joined the club when it settled, when he was putting in pile drivers against Manchester City, to be this player that Liverpool sometimes lack in midfield, because he is a bit different to what they've got. And it's just typical of him that he goes and scores this goal. And yes, he can get going. It's what you need from him with these players away at the Africa Cup of Nations. And then he goes off injured. I think it was a blow to his ankle. You could see he was frustrated when he was limping off. It's a relief that he could walk off himself and they didn't need a stretcher or anything. But hopefully it's not too serious, because you'd favour having him in that position than someone else against Arsenal in midweek. So his former club back to his former stomping ground. It's a game he'll want to play in. But yeah, it's just another case of an injury at the wrong time for him. But yeah, he doesn't feel injury prone. It's always just unlucky. Not the same way as like Naby Keita gets these little knocks. You just see Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's had some serious ones in the past. So I hope that it's not serious this time, that he can get back on the field quickly and just pick up where he left off, because he is quietly having a good season. I think he's making a lot more appearances than people would realise. And for the majority, he has staffed. I think that's probably the first injury he's had this season, actually. So he has been staying fit and he just needs that run of games. So I'm sure it was a relief for him to get that goal. And you do want to see a bit more from him.
Couldn't agree more. I think he had a pretty good period. I think it was after the first international break, around the October to the start of December time. He was playing really well. And he looks like that same Oxlade-Chamberlain again today. But of course, Oxlade-Chamberlain's going to Oxlade-Chamberlain. And unfortunately, another injury for him. Gutted for the lad. But Diogo Jota, who was on the right in midweek, and he's more for the central position today, a much better performance from him, Theo, albeit he didn't get on the score sheet. But I was very impressed with the young Portuguese lad.
Yeah, he probably should have got on the score sheet. Like, I think he hit the post. He had a couple of headers where he maybe should do better. Might have been a one-on-one in there as well.
Yeah.
But he looks more influential when he's cutting inside onto his favoured foot, where it's more natural for him to come into the centre and swap positions with Firmino, or when he's got like Robertson being that outside link for him on the left. It wasn't natural for him being on the right. It's like the natural position for him. Like, you're going to float into the centre, but it doesn't feel the same. I suppose it's on his weaker side if he's coming in from the right. But yeah, he was involved much quicker, much earlier on. There was link-up play between the front three was a lot better than it was in midweek. I think he had Liverpool's first chance today as well with a header over the crossbar, and it's what you want to see, because he is going to be the main goal-scoring threat in these next few weeks. It's almost a surprise that he hasn't scored today, but at the same time, it's quite nice that Liverpool scored 3 and he hasn't, because that's the two top scorers in the division. Said it eventually. And they've not scored today. One's obviously in Cameroon. The other one, he's involved when he hasn't got a goal. But the fact that Liverpool got 3 goals from elsewhere is a positive sign.
I think part of the link-up play was due to credits due to Curtis Jones as well. He had a brilliant performance, I thought, Theo.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Jurgen Klopp challenged him pre-match, saying he needs to start living up to his potential and do a bit more and show why he's so highly rated. He's another who's been unfortunate this season with COVID and getting injured, and I think he had concussion in pre-season as well. It was one thing after the other, but he's come into the side at a good time. He would have been important for earlier in the season, like when they had so many midfielders out injured. It was made for Curtis Jones, and it was just unfortunate he wasn't available as well. But now he's coming back into the side at a good time, and he's probably quietly edging up this pecking order as well. Like, we don't know how long Thiago's going to be out for. We know Harvey Elliott's close to coming back on the horizon, but if Oxlade-Chamberlain's going to be out for a few weeks, he's the one midfielder left you think is a bit more offensive, because obviously Naby Keita's away in Cameroon. If you want someone who's going to advance, take on defenders, can link up the play a bit more, he's certainly more offensive in that style. Has a bit more about him than, say, a James Milner or a Jordan Henderson. We know Jordan Henderson gets forward in a different way and is effective on the right. But yeah, Curtis Jones, it feels the way Harvey Elliott was playing at the start of the season, cutting inside. Yeah. It's not quite a wide midfielder. It's not quite a central midfielder. It's floating between the two roles. Harvey Elliott did that really well. And if they get it right with Curtis Jones and he lives up to his potential, he can do that same thing on the left-hand side. The question is if a trio of Jones, Elliott and Fabinho maybe one day is it perhaps a bit too offensive, whether Fabinho can really protect them as much. But then they're going to get mature, they're going to get older and get more nous about them. It was a positive return from Jones. It's what you needed to see after that challenge from the manager. It's been easy for a youngster to take it as criticism and to let his head get down, but he rose to the occasion, and then he finished the game in that front three, showing that he's still an option there as well. Like I said, it's been a stop-start season for him. You just want him to get that rhythm going again, and hopefully this is another promising step for him.
Yeah, we've got a few of those players, haven't we, that are sort of making their own position. It's neither a 6, an 8 or a 10, or they're neither a wide midfielder. But I'm going to move on to...
Should we call it a 9 3/4 or something?
Well, you could be on something there. Let's move on, though, to the third goal. Birthday boy to Takumi Minamino, only on the pitch a few minutes, and then Firmino giving him the chance. Birthday gift for an easy goal for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and you could see how much it meant to him as well when he scored. And
Good for his confidence, wasn't it?
Good for his confidence. It comes at the same end as that horrible miss sitter in the week. I'd much rather it had been 2-0 today and he'd scored that one, to be honest. But a goal's a goal. I'm sure he's happy to get back on the score sheet quickly. He can perhaps feel a little hard done by then. He had to start on the bench today, though he was the obvious one to drop out. But out of the front three in midweek, he was the one who was probably most dangerous, though that wasn't really saying much. But it just shows he's not quite doing enough, is he? I know they praise him, say how well he's doing behind the scenes, how well he's doing in training and everything. But it was telling that it was Oxlade-Chamberlain in the front three today and not him. And yeah, he might be in the front three on Thursday, depending on Oxlade-Chamberlain's injury. But yeah, he needs confidence. He's got a few goals now. He's contributing a little bit more. But 5-10 minutes here and there and getting the odd goal in the League Cup, it's not enough. You need a bit more for him. So you just need him to use one of these as a platform to really kick on and knock properly on that first team door. Because rarely when you've got everyone fit and they're making these changes to change a game, do they turn to him? There's other players ahead of him in the pecking order. Like as you say, Divock Origi would probably be ahead of him in the pecking order at the moment if he was fit. But it's another positive sign. It was a simple finish for him, but it would have been easy for him to just kick it at the keeper or to sky it over the crossbar or put it wide, given what happened in midweek. So it's good that he didn't let that one rest on his mind too much and he just put it in the net and then celebrated wildly as he does with this big beaming smile.
Yeah, delighted for him, and hopefully that can give a little boost of confidence going into Thursday's League Cup match against Arsenal. Theo, thank you very much for joining me there. That's all we've got time for today, I'm afraid, and thank you to all of you for listening at home. So Liverpool are back to winning ways, 3 goals, 3 points. We'll absolutely take that. We'll be back with the debrief next week after Liverpool hopefully reach the League Cup final after their second leg against Arsenal at the Emirates. But until then, it's goodbye for now.